So do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jens Hegg. I'm a PhD scientist at University of Idaho, and my study area is looking at fish migration and why they move and where they move. I'm most interested in using chemistry to understand where fish are moving, and I do work here in Idaho with salmon, as well as work in Brazil on several species of what we call megafish, um, big coastal and Amazon River fish that make long migrations.
That's really cool. So when did you decide to become a scientist?
Um, I think I wanted to get into kind of wildlife, starting maybe actually like late middle school and in high school. I was really into the outdoors, backpacking, stuff like that, and I wanted to get into a field where I could do that stuff um,
Yeah,
as a job. Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, so that was kind of when I started to think about it, I guess. And then
Okay,
it got more defined in college, I would say.
okay. And so what kind of schooling did you have to get to where you are now?
I got a bachelor's degree in biology. That was the start of kind of getting the degrees that you need to become a scientist. It's hard to get a science job that isn't pretty low level without a master's degree. And I realized after a while that I really wanted to be the one who was making the decisions about what I studied and where I studied and the questions that I got to ask. And I realized that to do that, you really need to have a PhD um, and and have a job where you're the principal investigator, the person who's putting together the studies. Um, so I came back to University of Idaho um, and got a master's and a PhD in the interdisciplinary water resources program. Um, so a program that kind of blends all kinds of fields together in everything related to water, everything from engineering to hydrology to biology um, and climate science. And my focus was on fish migration and fish ecology.
That's really cool. So were there classes that you took in high school that helped you um, towards your field?
Yeah, I mean, all of the science classes that I took, those concepts are still things that we talk about. Um, I think I remember I think it was seventh grade biology class.
Hmm.
Uh, that was a big class for me. Like we did a bunch of dissection. I remember having to read a lot of articles, um, like like magazine articles of kind of interesting science tidbits that we had to read every week. So that had a big impact on me. And believe it or not, the geology class that I took as a senior, I think it was a senior, maybe a junior in high school, was really big for me. It was just a great class, and geology is very closely related to biology. Most of what we know about the history of the Earth comes from understanding fossil layers and biology, and a lot of that still matters to what I do. And a lot of what I do with reconstructing migration through chemistry is actually closely related to geology. So I have published geological papers as well as biological papers because of the techniques I use. So
That's really cool. So what is the most interesting thing that you've done in your research?
I really enjoyed the work that I'm doing down in Brazil. I Last year I got a Fulbright grant, um, to study in the Brazilian Amazon,
Which is
and
a big award. That's a big,
yeah, it was a big deal, and it
yeah,
was something that I wasn't really expecting to receive, and then I got it, and it was this huge opportunity to spend 4 months in the Amazon doing whatever research I wanted to do. Was awesome, and
yeah.
I'm working with three different um, professors down there on a study related to sawfish that I'm really excited about. Sawfish are this big ray that has a long rostrum that's covered in teeth, and we're using those teeth to look at their migration for the first time. And they're this really endangered, big, bizarre looking animal. Um, and what we're doing is potentially giving information that can really help preserve this species that's really on the edge. So
And
it's cool.
and
And of course,
they migrate from freshwater to saltwater, right?
yeah, they're what we call uralines. So they're interesting actually because most fish really have a hard time with that transition between
Mhm.
fresh and salt water. And large tooth sawfish cross the salinity gradient at will. They don't seem to be bothered by it, and they move a long ways into fresh water. There's reports of them all the way in Manaus in the center of the Amazon. So that's
Wow,
500 miles or more up the Amazon River.
that's
Uh,
amazing.
but they also live along the coast
Mhm.
in estuaries and brackish salty water. So yeah,